Hey, it's Tim here. Today, Tableau have released a great new feature for Tableau Public. They've brought web edit to Tableau Public. This is absolutely huge because essentially you can now build data vizzes in the browser using the power of Tableau entirely for free. In this video, I'm going to show you how. One other thing, this is part of the 2021.1 release. So if you haven't checked out the videos that I have on the channel about that release, go check it out. The last thing to note here is this is the full power of Tableau through the browser. There are a couple of catches because it's a free product. I'll come to those in a bit. But essentially, you can do everything you can do in the desktop version of Tableau Public in terms of building a viz, creating calculations. You can do pretty much all of that with just a couple of catches, and I'll come to those when I go through the video, but it's all there entirely for free. Let's get stuck in. Okay, so we're here in the browser. I'm essentially already on the Tableau Public homepage. You can see that I've got my email plugged in. This is just an email I use for Tableau Public. I don't ever check it, so don't try and send me a message here at all. I just get ignored entirely. But nonetheless, what we need to do is go to our profile. Now, if you haven't ever created a profile, make sure you just go ahead and create a profile here. Once you've done that, you have access to this capability. But if you don't need to build anything, you can just go in and browse Tableau Public without ever creating a viz. This is if you want to create vizzes and publish things. That's what your profile is going to be for. You get 10 gig of space, and this is great. You will never run out of space, really. I know people who've been publishing vizzes nearly every single week and have not run out of this space, essentially because Tableau compresses the workbook and the data. So, even your largest workbooks in terms of Tableau are going to be about 70 to 80 meg. And if they're any bigger than that, then there's something going wrong with how you've sort of put your data into Tableau. Okay, so even something like a 1,000,000 row Excel file is not going to push anywhere close to that sort of size, 80 meg. Okay, so it's really, really good. Get stuck in, create a profile, and then you can go straight into the capabilities. I'm going to click on my profile. This will take me to essentially what I see as an author. And so now that we're here, you can see that I've got a few vizzes. A couple of things to note. I've obviously hidden some visualizations. That's what these little icons are. And essentially all that means is I've built something and I haven't made it public. So if you want to learn how to use Tableau, but you don't want the whole world to see what you're doing, you can of course do this. Build your viz, make it hidden. When people come to your profile, they can't see this. Okay, so there's actually a little option here on the top right hand side where you can view your profile as what other people see. So if I go hit others, you can see that they only see my nice polished vizzes. It's a bit like Instagram. You only post your best photos, and the not so good ones get chucked out. Except for here, you don't have to delete anything. You can just keep your sort of nice vizzes available to the public. Okay, now the next thing is of course your profile. So you get a little sort of bit of information. Now you can of course update as much of this or as little of this as you want, but that's essentially all this is. It's just like a profile set of information. Then you've got these section vizzes, followers, following, and favorites. Okay, and this has always been part of Tableau Public. This is not new at all. What has been new is that they've improved the Tableau Public interface. Check out my other video on that. They've actually improved the search interface so you can find visualizations and authors a lot more easily. But the thing we're here to talk about today is actually this: create a viz. And the thing to note is that it is actually in beta. This is live and it's available for everyone to use, but it's in beta, which means Tableau's still developing and Tableau's still working on this. The very last thing I will say about this is that I actually tried this earlier on today and I had a couple of issues, and I realized the issue was because I had an ad blocker enabled. And actually this system is talking to a system in AWS called CloudFront, and my ad blocker was actually recognizing that as some sort of ad tracking sort of database. Now, I don't know what sort of tracking goes on here in terms of how they monitor it and how they use that. That's all going to be in terms and conditions. But just to note, if you do have something that sort of interferes with how objects load on the page, like a like a toolbar or anything like that, that runs in the browser or runs in Chrome's, all these extensions, they can interfere with the performance here. So if you're having issues, just check that one of your extensions isn't messing this up. I had an issue where AdGuard, my ad blocking extension, was actually stopping me from saving workbooks once they were done. So that's something to check out. But now all the sort of disclaimers are out there, we can get stuck into this feature. I'm going to hit create a viz, and I'm very familiar with this because this is the same capability we've had now for a while in Tableau Server and Tableau Online. And so when I click on this link, we're going to hopefully go to a new instance, and it's going to allow us to start building a viz. So you can see here that I've clicked on that. It was a little bit buggy. I think I wasn't actually in the window, but again, these are bugs to be expected. I don't know exactly what was going on. The other thing to note is we only have the ability to connect to files. I think what will happen, I'm hoping will happen, is that they'll add more sources. I think the biggest sort of, thing I'd love to see here is actually the addition of global data sources, things like data sources from the World Health Organization, data sources from organizations such as, UNICEF, organizations that put out data to the world so people can tell stories with data. I'd love to see those become native sources here so people don't have to go find them and clean them and parse them. The other thing to bear in mind is that you still can't yet connect to cloud data sources. And I'm talking about specifically things like Google Drive, Microsoft Office 365, OneDrive, Box, all those kind of file storage systems, because that's where a lot of people do sometimes keep their flat files. So although it says files, what it really means is it wants you to upload data from your computer. So you can see here this little arrow. I drew the wrong annotation there. So you can see here it wants you to upload data from your machine. So I'm going to go ahead and hit upload, and I'm going to bring in none other than Superstore. So I've got this Excel file here. You can see it's a .xls. I think CSVs will also work. So any sort of standard file will typically work. The best way to think of these is that Tableau is limiting this so that you sort of don't stop buying their paid products. So if you want to connect to a database, unfortunately, you won't be able to do that. But if you just want to connect to an Excel file, a very simple file, just upload the file and then you'll have it appear here in the interface. Okay. Then what we can do is we can just start using Tableau as normal. I just dragged in orders into the view. You can see that it works exactly the same. What I am going to do is create an extract, because this will make things a lot better. And if you've never used Tableau, generally what I'd say is just create an extract anyway, because there's some calculations that will happen in the future that will be much easier. If it's an extract, they'll be much faster. And also there are some calculations that can only be done with an extract. So if you're connecting to a file, you might as well create an extract, because you don't need any sort of live connection and you're going to get better performance as a result. So that's basically my advice. Try and do that. And then now we've created an extract. You can see here that it's got this sort of completion time of 9:53, which is when I'm recording this video here in the UK. And now I can go to sheet 1. So let's go ahead to sheet 1 and see how this works. And so you can see here that we have a very, very nice sort of setup. Now, we get the exact same interface that we get in Tableau Desktop. So everything is exactly the same. A couple of tricks here though. What you can't do in Desktop is zoom out to essentially get a larger interface, or zoom out to get a smaller interface, and zoom in to get this sort of much more spacious setup. And I could never read this or work like this, but you do get the space. So it's a very good place to come and work on something that's supposed to be absolutely huge and sort of get away with it. Okay, so let me set it back to 100% so it's back to normal so you can see what's going on. Now I'm going to try and build something. You can do literally everything. I will say this though, some of the features are there, they're just not in the usual place, especially if you're a desktop user. So let's go ahead and drag cells onto rows. Then what I will do is I'll bring my subcategory and put it onto columns to build a very basic table. This is the classic demo basically in Tableau. You build a bar chart. The next thing you do is you build a map, and everyone's always amazed about how quick and easy it is to build a map. You just double click on a geographical field. Essentially Tableau knows the names of locations around the world over a certain population. So if you click on that field and it has those names, it just figures out where they are. In this case, I clicked state and it built this map. If I want it to be a filled map, I just go here to the marks pane, then I make it this map option, and then boom, instead of dots, I get a map. Very, very simple. The last thing I will do is I'll put cells on color. That basically means that I'm coloring this map with my cells values, and it's going to aggregate the cells and even give me a legend over here on the right hand side. So you can see that it's very easy and flexible to work with. I will style this like I always style stuff in desktop. So I'll click on this color. I'll give everything a white border just to create some separation between each of these states. And now that's starting to look a lot better for me. Last thing I'll do is I will hold command and I'll drag cells onto label. If you hold control on the Windows, it does the same thing, command on the Mac, and control on the Windows. And see here, you can basically see this is all set up. This is all very nice and good. I've got the numbers, and now I can go to the next page. Now the last thing what I will do here is I'll build a table. Look how easy it is to build a table now. I think people are going to be using this to build tables every single day, because this is probably the fastest way to build any sort of table that you need. So let's go ahead and do this let's maybe buy category. And then what I will do is I will bring in subcategory as well, just to give us some little bit of hierarchy, a little bit of structure. Tableau understands dates, so I can expand this date hierarchy, and boom, we've got a nice little table there. Okay, so that's a very basic set of stuff. I've built 3 very basic vizzes. You can of course carry on. Show me works just the same way. I know a lot of people rely on Show Me. If you're using Show Me every single day, trust me, you don't need to be using it. You shouldn't be using it. Check out my video on that topic as well, where I cover why you shouldn't be using Show Me and how to use Show Me to stop using Show Me, essentially. Okay. So we've got 3 sheets here. We've built something very simple. Now, the other thing is sometimes you want to do things like create a calculation. So let's go ahead and create another sheet, and let's just go ahead and just see what the calculation window is like. So let's create a calculated field. You see, we get this box and it's modal just like normal. I can click, out of this window and it's still there. So let's go ahead and work with this. So I'm going to create the profit ratio calculation. So what I'll do is I'll say sum of profit. Now it will autocomplete as well, so I can just go ahead and select that there and do that divided by sum of sales. And again, that will autocomplete there, and I can just close that off. Then we can call this profit ratio, and go ahead and do that, hit apply. And now that we've done that, we've got our calculation just right here. It's just appeared on the left hand side. So we're pretty much done. We're going to hit OK. Now, the real stinger with this one is how do you change that to a percentage? Because watch what happens when I bring this segment into rows and I paste it in. Okay, we got the consumer, corporate, and so on and so forth. So now if I drag the percentage, it's supposed to be a percentage, but I drag it in, you can see it's 0.11548. Now, for all of you desktop aficionados, the first thing you're going to do is either right click on profit ratio and then go to find the formatting options, and you'll be like, wait, they're not there. And this is exactly what I did earlier on today. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Full disclosure, I couldn't figure it out until I finally found it later on. I had to dig around some documentations to find out where it was. But here we have the options. It's not there. I right clicked on the interface. You'd only get the annotation marks there. So I was like, where on earth is this? I couldn't even find the feature. And actually, it's right here in the marks pane. And for everyone who's watching, if I just go to the marks pane, this is the marks pane. And if I actually go here and I click on this drop down, you'll see that I do get the option to format the number here. And so when I click on that, I'm actually then able to select percentage, and now we're pretty much ready to go. So that's how you do formatting of numbers in WebEdit. It's very sort of easy to do. I should know that. I just couldn't figure it out earlier on today. So there we have it. And if you're using Show Me, of course, this all works. On the right hand side, you can still do a whole bunch of other things, but I'm not interested in that. I just wanted to basically create a calculation. Now, what I just did there is I hit the X button and it's asking me to save the workbook. So I'm actually going to save a copy. Okay. And it's asking me to save a copy because technically, I haven't saved this anywhere. So I'm just going to call this new public test workbook. Okay. And hit save. All right. Now that I've done that, it's going to go ahead and save. Now, this does take a little bit of time. If you've got an ad blocker, it might block this. Okay. And so you can see here, it chucked me out of Tableau. I don't know what went on there. So let's go back to my profile and let's pray that it saved it. I really hope it saved it. Otherwise, I have to start again. There you go. There's the new public test workbook. Let's go ahead and view and see. I really hope it saved it. I hope it didn't sort of just trash it. There we go. It did save it. If I just go back and close this, I think it just bugged out and it threw me out. But actually, if I go back in, as long as I hit saved, everything is still there. So sheet 1, sheet 2, and sheet 3. Now, there's a catch here. Don't close your browser without forgetting to save this, because I'm not convinced that they've actually enabled that sort of draft feature yet. And I think that's really important because people will accidentally close browser fields whilst using this. Okay. So now that we've built this next thing to ask is, well, how do I build a dashboard? So of course, let's go ahead and do that. Let's hit this sort of icon here at the bottom, and you see we've got 4 sheets. I'm just going to double click each and every one of them. That is a sort of quickest, hackiest way to get everything in a visualization in a Tableau workbook, into view. And now we have all the vizzes. And then what I can do is I can start arranging them now that they're here. So this is not going to be the best viz ever. I barely build vizzes on Tableau Public. I build most of my vizzes for clients. So I'm just going to take this small sheet here, this tiny little sheet here, and put it underneath the legend over here on the right hand side. And then what I will do is, I think the table needs more space. So really what I should do is I should really put this table, this sort of, not the table, sorry, this sort of bar chart should be on the right hand side of this map, just like that. And then I can sort of better balance things out a little bit, and I can drag this up a little bit. The width is not quite working out how I thought it would work out. So what I might do is I might just dump this sheet here. I will take this legend, and what I will do is I'll make this a floating element, so I can move this legend where I want, and I'll just put it here and next to that map, because that's the legend that it belongs to. And then for this sheet here, you're probably wondering, well, how do I get it to just fit the width of this space? Well, if you go to the top here of the toolbar, you can just say fit width, and it will kind of squeeze everything in so to make sure it fits. So there we go. We have a basic viz here. You can add interactions. Of course, all those capabilities are there. If I just hit on this little filter icon, that will enable a quick action, and that will basically allow me to bring some interactivity to this very, very quickly. If I want to start clicking and dragging and interacting with stuff, I can. But you also get the dashboard actions capability. So if you want to do something yourself that's a little bit more bespoke, go ahead, add an action. You don't have filter action, parameter actions here, but I do know that Tableau have some extensions that are available for that. So let's go ahead and hit OK, and we'll check out the extensions in a second. But that's very much sort of it. That's the web edit capability here. We've built a dashboard. We've done everything we need to do. I'm now going to go ahead and save it. Because I've already given it a name, it's now just going to go ahead and save on top of what I had before. So it's not having asked me again, what would you like to save it as? It's not going to ask me to save a copy, as it sort of termed it. So that's basically web edit in a nutshell. It's all the same capabilities of Tableau now available to you for free through Tableau Public in the browser. Nothing to install. If you've got a slow laptop, you don't have to buy a new one just to use Tableau Public. You can start using it today. Okay, you can see that the workbook saved. Now, one of the nice things is with the 2021.1 release, they actually enabled some extensions. And if I go over here to the left-hand side, you'll see that there's this option here for extensions on the bottom left. And so it's sort of weird because these extensions became public sort of very quickly. And they also updated the feature so that you could actually access this gallery in the product. But Tableau Public itself didn't make it to this sort of position. So down here on the bottom left, you can see I've got an extension. I'm going to go ahead and make my dashboard a little bit bigger and just see what extensions we have. It might be that there are some extensions, but they're not quite working. Things might be in beta. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to drag an extension. I'm going to put it here in the middle. And when we drop it in, we get the extensions interface. And check this out. People have been building extensions for Tableau on the browser. So now not only does desktop have this capability, but in the browser, you can go ahead and take advantage of these. So if you want to do things with parameter actions, well, look, people have built a bunch of different sort of tools that you can use your parameter with. Most of them are with Tableau. So a quick what if, a single checkbox parameter actions, data-driven parameters. All of these are actually available here. You could do something with viz formatting, for example. Mark Jackson here has built a trellis chart auto resize. Okay, and so there's so many sort of great little tools. If we go to custom new viz types here, you can see that people have built extensions that will sort of let you build charts that are sort of, just not out of the box, essentially. These are going to be absolutely great. So there's so many different extensions. I literally would get lost just going through this. I'll probably do another video going through some of my favorite top 10 extensions to get to know. It's going to take a while to sort of get through this. So, bear with me while I do that. But long story short, there's a whole bunch of extensions to be aware of. Now, the thing to be careful though is not all of them work with Tableau Public. So if you see here, there's a little checkbox that says works with Tableau Public. So let's go ahead and check that. And when we do that, it will also filter this list. So now my list, you'll see just a few extensions disappeared. So now if I go to all categories, these are the ones that have been tested to work with Tableau Public. So it's actually a handful of extensions. Bar race is a really, really good one. So let's go ahead ahead and actually use this. Let's go ahead and select this, and we'll add it to the dashboard. And what I'd love to do is you see it on the subcategory. So let's just put it in and see what it does. So we're waiting for the extension. The way I know that is over here on the bottom left, it was actually saying waiting for an extension. So now that that's there, it's basically asking me to add data. The image either needs a data source or some data items are missing. You can set this by selecting the configure option in the extensions edit tab. So let's go ahead into this little dot here, okay? And I can configure it just there. So when that happens, it opens yet another little sort of pop-up. And now that we have this, we have the interface where we can edit this stuff. So now what I will say is that, extensions are going to be the wild, wild west of Tableau. Tableau's always been this great sort of safe place. But as soon as people start building stuff, instead of Tableau, what you have is different design languages, different ways of interpreting sort of standards. And so I can go ahead and select a worksheet here. In this case, I'm going to select sheet 1 as my data source, okay? Because that is actually a bar chart. So I'm assuming I can do whatever I need to with that. I don't have anything on colors. I'm essentially kind of already configuring what's going on here. There's not really much sort of to change. There's a lot of options for this one. So I'm just going to hit save and just hope that what I get out of the box is free. And there you go. It's basically rebuilt this chart. Now, there's an upside and a downside to this. So let's go ahead and just start playing this stuff. You see, it's basically cycling through the years and it's able to sort of figure things out. So if I hit play there, it goes 2018, 2019 and so on and so forth. If I go and configure that again, I think I can maybe change this time frame that it animates to be something different. So let's go ahead and see if we can change that to be a little bit more granular so we can see the animation actually taking place. I'm not sure I actually can. Bar, race chart, chart items, chart values, dimensions. Yeah, no selection. What's going on here? I'm not really clear about how to sort of fiddle with this, but you get the idea. Extensions are going to basically allow you to do a lot of things that are quite difficult. You might not necessarily like how they're being done. So what I'd encourage you to do is before you sort of invest in an extension, really test it, really make sure you're happy with it. You can see that I got excited about that one and it didn't quite work out. So but of course, developers are going to be building on these, so don't take that example as like a standard example of what the developer is capable of. These things take time. With millions of people using Tableau Public, it's also going to create bugs that people have never seen before, because before these extensions ran in enterprise where the bugs probably didn't even get communicated. So this is going to be a tough time because extensions will have to start from a place where there isn't as much feedback available, and it will just take time for that feedback to trickle into people's workloads and developers to make those work. But it's good to know that Tableau do check these extensions. They are checked for security, and anything that's been validated to work with Tableau Public has probably gone through some sort of quality control as well. So this is really cool. You can go in, start working with a whole bunch of extensions, start doing some absolutely crazy things. An extension I think has made it into this, a semiotic hierarchy. I really like this one. This is one by Star Schema, and it's actually, it's a pretty advanced extension. It's not the kind of thing I can cover even in one video because it's really powerful. It uses a library, a D3 library, and it actually looks like Tableau. You can see they followed the styling and theming of Tableau itself. So if I go to configure, it actually opens up this little tab. They've thought about their sort of interface design. And if you check this out, as I load this up, you'll see that it actually looks and feels familiar. It's sort of had some deliberate sort of thought to it. And you can choose different sort of chart types and that these would just take a lot of time and some really complex calculations to get them working, okay? And they're not necessarily best practice, but if you want to build something beautiful and you sort of want something quick and easy out of the box, this is going to be it. I'm going to use sheet 3 just to see if it can do anything with this, because that's the one with a hierarchy. I think I'm going to try and use subcategory and category as the hierarchy here and see if there's anything we can do with the year hierarchy as well. It's kind of thinking about it. So let's try and see what happens here. Nothing's going to happen, I think, because number one, my ad block has probably kicked in, or number two, it's just a bug. And again, this is going to happen. So I should really stop starting to show extensions on day one of a new feature because they will be buggy inevitably. So But what I just want to do is highlight, look, there are extensions out there. Go in, get stuck in. Don't be overcritical of these things. You know, they've only just come out. People have spent time building them, and they have done it for free. In some cases, these extensions are paid. So, you know, send positive feedback, send positive criticism, so that people can make these things better. Don't just sort of dunk on them because they don't work on day one. Okay, so that's pretty much it from me. I think I've shown you all I can show you here. I'm going to hit close and see what happens. Is it going to ask me to save? Yes. It has a prompt there to make sure that I save everything. If I'd closed the browser, unfortunately, it would have just closed. So let's go back and see my published viz. So this is the dashboard. It's a very ugly dashboard. I will keep this public on my profile so you can all see that it's there. It's not a testament of my skill or anything. I hope not. And now that's saved. Just give it a few more seconds. Try and fill the air while it does that. There we go. It's saved. And now it chucks me back to my profile. And I can tweak the viz, give it a title, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to do any of that. I just want to view it in my profile. And there we have it. We have Tableau Public in the browser. And the best thing of all, it's free for everyone to use. So just go ahead, create your profile, get stuck in, start making vizzes. No one has an excuse now to not learn Tableau. In fact, I maybe might start using this myself so everyone can follow along and sort of find it easy to use. Okay, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Please subscribe, share this with people who might find it useful. Let other people know about the goodness here. This is a really important feature. If you haven't checked out some of my other videos on Tableau 2021.1, check that out as well. I've got videos going back almost 5 releases now of Tableau, covering all the key headline features as well. And last but not least, reach out. Let me know what you'd like to hear. Let me know what you'd like to see on the channel. And if you found this video useful, I'd really appreciate a like, because it really helps get the content out to more people. And thanks for watching.